Beauty standards have always been extremely prevalent throughout human history, and today they drastically affect everyday interaction, the media, and the commercial world. They determine what is beautiful, from body shape, to facial proportions, to height, weight and much more. With the influence of fairy tales, mass media, and advertisements, fashion and beauty-centered dolls such as Barbie dolls and female characters in fairy tales playing a prominent role in many women's lives, it adds to the pressure to conform to the feminine beauty ideal starting from a young age. Handling the pressure to conform to a certain definition of beautiful can have psychological effects on an individual, such as depression, eating disorders, body dysmorphia and low self-esteem, starting from an adolescent age and continuing into adulthood. There is a strong desire to fight existing beauty ideals. In fact, 71% of women and 67% of girls want the media to do a better job of portraying different types of women. Studies done by Dove reveal low self-esteem impacts women and girls' ability to release their true potential. 85% of women and 79% of girls admit they opt out of important life activities when they do not feel confident in the way they look. More than half of women, 69%, and girls, 65%, allude to pressure from the media and advertisements to become the world's version of beautiful, which is a driving force of appearance anxiety. 47. Studies done by Dove have also revealed the following statistics: 4% of women consider themselves beautiful, 11% of girls globally are comfortable with describing themselves as beautiful.
What do you look for in a man when you want to find him attractive?
Well, I like a well-proportioned man, around 6 foot in height and not too lean and not too fat.
A man to be, well, anything from 5'10" to 6 foot.
Gentlemen, I am 5 foot, 6.5 inches tall, and I'm short. And I love it. I love being short. And honestly, the older I get, the more I think, you know what? Being short isn't not only a super cool thing, it makes me even more awesome, it's actually more beneficial and better than being tall.
No point in denying the myth that runs in society as men strongly prefer looks over resources whereas women value resources over attractiveness, and it was true in earlier days when women had to forcefully rely on men's wealth to support themselves and their families. In the past, women were restricted from many rights and were dependent on men, and that's the primary reason women chose money over attractiveness. Back in time, women used to get married much earlier and had fewer or no premarital sexual partners. And since most men are average, it was quite hard for a female to find a handsome, resourceful man, and they had to marry a man having no sexual attraction. And this is converted into a theory that women are biologically attracted to men with resources, which is completely false since there are thousands of studies and data supporting that women are just attracted to good genes.
If you're poor and stressed about money all the time, then she'll feel unsafe and stressed out as well, which releases cortisol, the stress hormone, making it very hard for her to get turned on or aroused. That's why most women don't prefer guys that are dead broke. If you have a lot of money, but you have a scarcity mindset, or you're afraid you're gonna lose your money, then she won't feel safe either. She'll feel stressed out. I'm sure you've seen guys that are dead broke that do incredibly well with women. That's why most women don't prefer guys that are dead broke. I'm sure you've seen guys that are dead broke that do incredibly well with women.
Women are attracted to masculine traits greater in sexual dimorphism, for example strong jawline, a more muscular body, a taller height. Indeed, more masculine men tend to have a higher number of sexual partners. This hypothesis suggests that secondary sexual characteristics such as a low waist-to-chest ratio or masculine facial features, for example strong jawline, larger brow ridge, more muscular, are reliable indicators of mate quality as the hormones that cause their development, i.e. testosterone, suppress the immune system of an individual. With immunosuppression, a male would be more susceptible to diseases or pathogens. However, if a male is in good enough condition to weather these negative effects, it would be indicative to women, who selected these men as mates, that they have good genes.
A lot of incels, involuntary celibates, have this obsession with a guy's looks. They're of the opinion that only a good-looking guy will be sexually successful.
This video is going to say, I don't need to watch the video to debunk it. I am going to watch it, but I don't need to watch the video. I can debunk it based on the title, because I know exactly what he's going to say, because, you know, I've been following Coach Red Pill for years now, and I know his philosophy inside out. It's basically, It's a carbon copy of Richard Cooper, Rollo Tomasi. You know, the rational male perspective that if you are a young guy in your late teens, early 20s, you have absolutely no sexual market value, and you see these girls who only have their looks to rely on. They're getting hit on, they're being worshipped. A 21-year-old girl can go on OnlyFans and make thousands of dollars by selling her feet. And you, as a 21-year-old guy, have to simp and scrape the bottom of the barrel to get laid. And you think that this is indicative of how it's going to be in the future. But once you become red-pilled, you realize that when a girl is young in her early 20s, the entire world worships her because of her looks and her beauty. But as she gets older, once she, quote, hits the wall, all of that is going to disappear. But as you get older and you get closer towards your 30s and 40s, you will acquire resources, you will develop a career, you will own a house and fancy cars, and all of this good shit's going to happen to you. And because by evolution, it's all about evolution, bro, evolutionary psychology, which is not a misconstrued pseudoscience that red pillers rely on to cope. No. The evolutionary science has made it so as girls get into their 20s, they instinctively crave the man with resources to protect them based on our caveman days where, we had this kind of this patriarchal, the good society, the way it should be today if it wasn't for these evil feminazis. Back in the day, women relied on men for resources, and that is still hardwired into their mammalian brains. So once you get into your 30s and 40s and you acquire all of this financial resources, your SMV is going to go through the roof. And all of these girls that rejected you when you were young, they're going to be swooning over you when you're 40. That's based and red-pilled.
A study by David M. Buss and David P. Schmidt proposes a contextual evolutionary theory of human mating strategies, where it shows that money does play a role in a long-term relationship, but in short-term relationships, physical attractiveness plays a major role. Women thus place greater value on physical appearance in short-term than in long-term mating contexts. People don't realize that relationships and sexual attraction are two different things, especially when talking about long-term relationships. For example, most people think personality can influence a person's attractiveness, but in reality, it doesn't influence a person's attractiveness at all. As shown by a study named Physical Attraction and Romantic Attraction. Physical attractiveness is by far the most potent predictor of romantic attraction, and other personality traits seem to be less important once physical attractiveness is taken into account. Another study by OkCupid shows that there is a direct correlation between a person's looks and their personality. And a similar case happens with money. Physical attractiveness is the only factor that makes a person sexually attractive, and other factors such as money or personality, which are believed to influence a person's attractiveness, don't actually influence a person's attractiveness at all. But as I mentioned before, attraction and relationship are two different things. And in a relationship, not only looks but also other factors play an important role. For example, you can't be in a relationship with a person who is narcissistic, extremely aggressive, or has other personality disorders, no matter how attractive the person is. You also need money to stay in a long-term relationship and for reproduction costs. There are lots of factors that come into play in a relationship after looks and are completely dependent on the person's needs. If you are an attractive man, you do not need to spend much money in a relationship. On the other hand, things are quite different if you are an unattractive guy. The study showed some factors that influence relationships such as commitment and promiscuity. It shows that promiscuity is a factor that plays a role. Men preferred women who don't have any sexual experience and with less body count in long-term relationships. However, things were the opposite when it comes short-term relationships. And it is quite true. For example, most men would prefer to have casual intercourse with a pornographic actress but wouldn't agree to marry her. A woman's promiscuity does influence her SMV in a long-term relationship.
Every night, they're sending me thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, it was crazy.
Oh, money too?
Yeah.
The second habit is to cultivate approachability. So how you present yourself to the world through your body language is really important and can actually add to your attractiveness or detract.
You mean chicks aren't interested in when I look like
No,
this?
please uncross your arms. Stand up tall.
second thing is how you introduce yourself to the girl, and if you introduce yourself to the girl. So I think that one of the things that's like a really good idea, a great idea, is to just go up to her and be like, hey, I'm blank your name, whatever your name is, and just be happy about it, be smiling, you know, show that like addictiveness, that you're addictive, because being happy is addictive to people. People want to be around you if you're happy. And introduce yourself to her like kindly and happily.
We explained how certain factors can influence relationships, mainly focusing on money. We concluded that money doesn't make a person attractive but is a necessary thing for a long-term relationship, since there are lots of expenses in a long-term relationship such as reproduction costs. We also mentioned that an attractive person doesn't need to invest much money in a relationship. Point to be noted that you can get into a short-term relationships with the help of money by paying prostitutes, but we are not taking this into account as there are lots of consequences into entering into both long and short-term relationships with the help of just money. This is also known as beta-backs in the community. Being in a relationship with no sexual attraction has multiple serious, life-threatening complications. Beta-backs relationships are typically abusive in that the female reciprocates with minimal or no sexual affection, exploiting the agreeableness of the man, and keeping him just close enough for continued investment. Some academics have proposed this behavior as innate to women, calling it a dual mating strategy in which women secure high-quality genes from an attractive male in their prime years, to then settle for a beta provider later on in life through. We will explain this and talk furthermore about the consequences of getting into a relationship with the help of just money, and also about male and female SMV.
Men fall in love with what they see, where women fall in love with what they hear.
That's why men lie and women wear makeup.
Yeah. Women keep wanting to date up and up and up and up. And then on top of that, there's a rising, growing number of single, childless women. I want to say it's over 50% of women over 30 are single and childless. And it's growing. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger because women don't want to settle. They'd rather be alone than settle for a guy that they view as average. But they shouldn't. The only reason they view him as average is because they've been sleeping with guys out of their league. Because those guys would sleep with her, but they'd never wife her.
Every cope has an end. Every cope has an end.
If you are looking for looks-maxing advice, ratings or morphs, visit our website and have a look at our services and purchase what you need. We can assure you that we provide the best services in the community.